Adequate notice of this meeting was provided and published in the Asbury Park Press, the Ocean Star, on January 5th, 2018. Copies of the agenda were provided to the newspapers, posted on the public bulletin boards, and on the Township website.
Thank you. At this time, please silence or turn off your cell phones. Roll call, please.
Councilwoman Zapsik.
Here.
Councilman Halloran. Vice President Crate. Councilman Mumolo.
Here.
Councilman Fosman.
Here.
Councilwoman Ponchero. President DeYoung.
Here. Everybody please rise to a salute for the salute to the flag and a moment of silence.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Can I have a motion and a second for the approval of the minutes of the July 24th meeting, please?
Motion.
Second. Motion by Councilman Mumolo, second by Councilwoman Zapsik. Roll call, please.
Councilwoman Zapsik.
Yes.
Councilman Mumolo.
Yes.
Councilman Fosman.
Yes.
President DeYoung.
Yes. At this time, I'd like to invite the mayor to give an update on the flood, if he'd come up.
Good evening, everybody. Last meeting, I gave an account of the flooding and mentioned Greenbrier 1, Primrose, Sutton Village, New York, and Paramount. And since that time, I've learned of many other areas, Jaywood Manor, John McGuckin, Greenbrier 2, and many others all over town. It wasn't spread to one particular area of our town. It's actually all over north, south, and central. So we were just hammered all over town by that storm. We had altruistic and humanitarian efforts from so many volunteers, groups, businesses, and just plain old people who came out to help. And we're going to be honoring them and mentioning them by name at a future meeting because it's not over yet. So it's not like we can say, these are the volunteers, these are people that helped. There's still a lot of people who are not back in their houses yet and aren't even close to being back in their houses. Everybody might remember at the reorganization meeting back in January, I spoke about people just being kind to each other, trying to make life better here in Brick. Simple things like letting somebody out in front of you at a jug handle or leaving your house a little bit early so you don't have to tailgate somebody or speed around town. And it just adds less stress to everybody around you and it adds less stress in your life. And just how to make Brick kinder and have kindness be around Brick. So people stopped me since then and said, I listened to you, and I've actually let people out of the jug handle in front of me, and I kind of think of it like, oh yeah, that was a nice thing for me to do, and okay, now I'm 2 seconds later than I would have been had I not let that person out. So now we had a natural disaster that has affected over 180 homes in town, and probably more than that. I found out about more today. I had Facebook Live, and some people advised of other areas of town that flooded, which we weren't even aware of. So the kindness, noble, and selfless nature was again shown by our awesome residents. It's people doing great things, not for the credit, but because they care. They care about their fellow residents, they care about people's lives, and that's exactly what makes Brick great. We still need the help, and volunteers are needed. So if you're out there and you need help, please call and let us know so we know what type of help you need. 732-262-1234. And also, if you're willing to volunteer, please let us know. So there's still houses. The PBA was out there this morning at a house in Greenbrier taking out flooring, taking out sheetrock, and everything else. So there's people who still haven't had the cleanup part of it, let alone the rebuild part of it. Everybody's going to have to go through the rebuild part of it. So that we're definitely going to need. And we're going to need people that have skills and that are willing to donate their time, donate materials. Stores have stepped up, and like I said, I'm going to mention them at a later meeting when we have all the names and we don't skip anybody and everything else. But 732-262-1234, this way we can make matches. So at this point also we need help from FEMA and our federal representatives. We have lobbied hard. We convinced the state to declare it a state of emergency. State has lobbied hard. FEMA officials came out. They were out here last Friday and they toured. We've had the governor out here asking him to please come out here and tour. We had our Congressman MacArthur came out here and toured. And they're all coming out here because they need to see it firsthand. And you hear about it, okay, yes, there's flooding. But when you see the people's lives and memories that are sitting out there at the curb, that's where it's more impactful. And that's why I'm glad the governor and Congressman MacArthur came out here because they're we need the governor to petition the president, and we need the federal officials also to petition FEMA to get that aid that we need. So we need them to come through just as our residents have come through. Our businesses have come through. Our teams, our sports teams from our high schools came through. Clubs have come through. And it's been an overall great effort. Now we need FEMA to come through for all of us. We also need to find out if there's a cause beyond the 2 months of rain that fell in 2.5 hours. We need to know if the Parkway construction or if the Parkway exit interchange construction had something to do with this flooding. And we need to know not only to assess liability for those entities, but more importantly, so it doesn't happen again. We need to give the residents the peace of mind that it's okay to rebuild and okay to move back in. For this reason, tonight we have a resolution on the agenda that the council is going to vote on, and that's what we're doing is requesting that an independent engineer look at the evidence and make determinations. We don't need the county engineer to design the project to be the one to say, oh yeah, there's no problem. We don't need a freeholder 3 days after a flood to say, oh yeah, it wasn't us, don't worry about it. We need somebody independent to look at that. Look at it. Have to be professional. Have to be engineers. And we want to have a meeting afterwards where those engineers come and they give their report to the residents. Residents get invited. The victims of the flooding get invited and have that engineer give those reports of what their findings were. We also need help from brick residents. Whatever video you have, photos you have, any other evidence that you have, please forward it to me at mayor@bricktownship.net by way of email, so we can email it on to the Turnpike Authority and to the county, so that their independent engineers that we're hoping that they hire, and we're requesting and demanding that they hire, look at that and consider all of the evidence. Because I know we got a lot of drone footage. We had our police drone up in the sky as the rain was still coming down. We have that. And we need to have personal videos, because I know Sutton Village, there's people saying that they have videos of water pouring off the parkway. We need that emailed. So mayor@bricktownship.net. Hopefully the county and Turnpike Authority listen to our resolution. They hire an independent engineer to give the victims peace of mind or give them a fix to the serious issue. Again, I want to thank the Brick residents, businesses, employees of town, and volunteers for being charitable, generous, and above all, selfless to the victims of the terrible event. And please continue to be just as generous, just as charitable, and just as selfless as the victims rebuild, because we definitely need that help as well. So please remember, 732-262-1234, match up. Let us know what type of help you need, and hopefully volunteers are out there that are skilled and can do sheetrock and can do flooring, and they're willing to donate their time, and hopefully we can get materials donated and try to put everybody together And also, everybody, please document everything. We need to know every single dollar that gets spent, because that helps us with FEMA. We have to get a certain dollar threshold. And anybody out there who's flooded, who didn't tell us yet, please call that number as well, 732-262-1234. Amazingly, last Monday, I was somewhere with two parents that go to parents that go to school. The kids go to school with Jack, my son, and there's four of us that were out. Two of them flooded. And I was like, what road's he on? And that's where we found out about John McGuckin, and we found out about another road in town. Had no idea, because they're in contact. Our basement flooded. They're younger people. They're able to do something on their own, get everything out to the curb. But we need to know that. Every dollar counts. So that it's just important to let us know what that dollar is, because it all gets added. We got to add it with everybody else in the state who flooded. So Howell, Wall, Manasquan, all the areas that flooded, all here in the Jersey Shore, Ocean and Monmouth counties, and anywhere else in the state that flooded. Those are the only ones I know of. They all those dollars get added together. It's not like we only need Greenbrier, because Greenbrier by itself is not going to be enough. We need everybody. So all the towns are getting together, because it's a state application. It's not a town-by-town application. It's a state application. So if you flooded at all, if you only lost a rug, if you only lost a hot water heater, whatever that is money. It means money, and it might mean a lot of money, tens of thousands of dollars to the actual people who actually need it. You might not need it. If you only lost a rug, you don't meet your deductible for your sump pump insurance, something like that. But there's people out there who had water up to their counters, and they're the ones who need the FEMA aid, and they're the ones that you can help by just calling and let us know that you're damaged, how much your damage was. Again, 732-262-1234. Thank you for allowing me to give the update.
Thank you, Mayor. Moving on to our consent agenda, please.
All matters listed under item consent agenda will be enacted by one motion in the form listed below. If discussion is desired on any item, this item will be removed from the consent agenda and will be considered separately.
Very good. 4.1, establish a dedicated trust by rider for Brick Law Enforcement Trust Fund. This resolution establishes a dedicated law enforcement trust fund to be used specifically for law enforcement purposes and funded by completed forfeiture actions. Investigations performed by Brick Township Police Department are the primary sources of funds received from forfeiture actions. Previously, forfeiture funds were collected as part of the Police Department's trust fund, but new guidance has been issued requiring forfeiture funds to be placed in a separate trust fund. 4.2, authorize insertion of Chapter 159, Title 3B and Title 3E, Caregiver Senior Outreach Grant. This resolution authorizes the insertion of a grant for the Ocean County Office of Senior Services in the amount of $20,000 for the Title 3B and $7,500 for Title 3E, Caregiver Senior Outreach Grant. These funds are used to offset the programs and services available to the Brick Township Senior Center. In 2017, the staff at the Senior Center provided services to 360 family caregivers, delivered approximately 1,700 counseling hours, either in their home or in our offices, to 500 older adults, and provided information and assistance to 2,600 seniors. Additionally, 1,282 seniors attended various activities and programs at the Senior Center. Staff provided 105 medical transportation trips to 21 seniors and made 6,513 wellness calls to 45 homebound seniors and provided follow-up reevaluation to 200 elderly residents receiving Meals on Wheels. Resolution 4.3, authorize application recreational opportunities for individuals with disabilities grant. Councilwoman Zapsik.
Thank you, Council President. This resolution authorizes an application for a grant from the New Jersey Department of Community Affairs in the amount of $14,000 to carry out a project to provide inclusive recreational opportunities for individuals with developmental disabilities as part of Brick Township's recreational programming. The objective of the program is to provide access to diverse recreation programs that will serve up to 100 participants with disabilities over a 12-month period of monthly activities. Last year, the program was an overwhelming success, and it was discovered that there was a much greater need to accommodate individuals who were moderately and high-functioning developmentally disabled up to the age of 30. So this application is for an expansion of the current program. Thank you.
Thank you. Resolution 4.4, authorize award of bid engineering services pool. This resolution authorizes an award of bid for the engineering services pool to the following: Abington Engineering LLC Jackson, ACT Engineers Inc. Robbinsville, Brightview Engineering Roseland, Center State Engineering Monroe, CME Associates Howell, French and Perillo Associates Wall, Keystone Engineering Group Inc. Hamilton, Leon S. Avakian Inc. Neptune, LSEA Corp. Montville, Matrix New World Engineering Eatontown, Mott McDonald Freehold Nigerian Associates Eatontown, Van Cleef Engineering O'Donnell Stanton and Associates Hillsborough, Roberts Engineering Group, Hamilton, and WJH Engineering, Manasquan. This resolution enables the Township to expand the current engineering services pool to ensure a diverse mix of professionals in various areas of expertise from which to use as needed. Resolution 4.5, authorize award of rebid professional medical services Category A. This resolution authorizes the award of rebid for professional medical services for physical examinations to Meridian Occupational Health, Eatontown. The contract is being awarded for various rates depending on the service, with the total amount not to exceed $110,000. The contract will commence on August 29th and end on August 11th, 2019. Bid notices were mailed to 11 prospective bidders. 2 bidders picked up proposals and 2 bids were received. The Township's Human Resources Director, reviewed the bids and indicated that Meridian Occupational Health was the only bidder to submit a proposal for all items in the category. Based on our established working relationship, it was recommended that Meridian be retained to continue to provide these services. Resolution 46, authorize disposal of surplus property, 20-foot Dora-Lite box truck. This resolution authorizes the disposal of surplus property, specifically a 20-foot Dora-Lite box trailer, which is in poor condition and no longer needed for public use. Due to the condition of the trailer, it has been deemed unusable and unrepairable, for which there is no fair market value. The Deputy Police Chief has requested that the trailer be transported to a local recycling center and destroyed. 46, authorize placement tax liens for property cleanups. This resolution authorizes the placement of a tax lien in the amount of $59.82 at 103 Baywood Drive, Block 269, Lot 19. Resolution 48, authorize special events permit, Avery's Carnival. This resolution authorizes a special events permit for the 11th Annual Avery Carnival from 1 to 5 p.m. September 29th at the PAL on Drum Point Road. The rain date has been set for September 30th. 49, bond releases and reduction.
This is for the inspection fund release for RC Electrical General Company, LLC, Drum Point Road, in the amount of $500.
410, tax collector, Mrs. Bergen. You okay?
10A, 100% DAV refund and cancel taxes for Block 252.16, Lot 22. 10B, 100% DAV refund and cancel taxes for Block 701, Lot 9.05. 10C, tax overpayments for the year 2012. There is one in the amount of $18.78. And 10D, tax overpayments for 2019. There is one in the amount of $930.24.
Thank you. 411, authorize temporary waiver of building department fees for flood event. Mayor.
Thank you. I forgot to mention this up there, but obviously there's going to be a lot of rebuilding that has to happen. Some of it may require permits, not all of it. So if it's just simple sheetrock and things like that, you don't need permits. But for maybe hot water heaters or things like that, you need permits. Obviously, any flooding victims or victims already, we don't need them to have to pay fees. So we're asking the council to please vote to waive all fees for any permits for anybody who is a victim of the flood event. And we're hoping the state does the same.
Thank you. 412, requesting New Jersey Turnpike Authority and Ocean County Engineering Department to have an independent study done on the flood event. Mayor? This
I already covered. Independent engineer, not somebody who worked on the project, not somebody that's tied in with the county, not a freeholder saying 3 days later that this has nothing to do with us. Independent engineering firm hired by the Turnpike Authority / county, paid for by them, meeting in front of all of our residents and give us the results. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. That ends our consent agenda. Questions from council?
Yes, I have a question. Not really a question, a statement. I remember back when Sandy came along, we waived the fees, and the rest of the council wasn't here, but we waived the fees. Waived the fees back then. So this is another good thing, that waiving the fees for the residents of the town, whoever's been affected by the flood. And if need be, I'll be willing to extend the time longer, if need be, for people to get back in there. So I just want you to realize that. Okay? Thank you.
Motion and a second?
Motion.
Second.
Motion by Councilwoman Zapsik, second by Councilman Mumolo. Open for public questions on these resolutions only. Yes. Yes. You may come up. Okay.
She plays games, and they're not nice games. I'm angry. Angrier than I've ever been in my whole life, and that's a long life, at what's going on in the town, county, state, and country. We've forgotten what we started out to be. And I have several. The insertion of the caregivers, 4.2, insertion of Title 3B and Title 3E, is that in the BRIC? Is it just for the BRIC Caregiver Senior Outreach, or does that involve the county?
It is money from the Ocean County Senior Services to BRIC Senior Center.
Aha. Information you didn't
I
extend to us like Loretta Weinberg thinks you do.
I did. Grant for the Ocean County
Excuse
Senior
me.
Services in
It's
the
my
amount
time.
of
You gave it to me.
$20,000 for Title IIIB, $7,500 for Title IIIE, Caregiver Senior Outreach Grant. The funds are used to offset the programs and services available at the Brick Township Senior Center.
I will let the people go to the video. Of course, not now, because it's not being broadcast, but I don't understand that. So, you didn't make it clear. The engineering services pool, okay, I don't really have too much on that. Professional medical services. If I'm interpreting your comments correctly, that has to do with exams for township employees and their medical insurance. Am I wrong? Or possible employment. Am I wrong that it's absolutely for township employees in one sense or another? I don't care if they're police, you, anyone else who's getting insurance through the township.
Medical services for physical examinations, township employees.
It's people being covered by the town. I'd like to voice my opinion that we should have more information on how the insurance costs for these people, for the exams, compare to those of us who never worked for government.
Excuse me, Council President, isn't this fitness for duty and new employee hires? This is not ongoing health insurance.
Well, that all should have been explained in how you came to your decision, and I'll send you Loretta Weinberg's letter. I actually posted my response to it and included her letter of 2013 and what she said that I've been saying, that you're not giving us all the information. Read her letter. It echoes things I've said for years. It's on my Facebook accounts. I have more than one.
Mrs. Bergen, is the answer to that question yes?
Yes, Councilwoman Zaxton, you are
Thank you.
correct.
We don't have enough information to know how you came to the decision about that and how it compares to the outside world who aren't paid by us taxpayers. Avery's cleanup. I've asked before, when you have the similar situations to 4.10, nobody knows how to go. Well, I know how to do it, but it's too time-consuming for me to have to do the research. What? 252.16, like 22? Those things mean nothing. Please include the address. The tax overpayment, you had only one for 2012, it sounded like. And please also include if that's in reference to a property tax and what the address is. As far as all this nonsense about the waiver of fees, yeah, I wonder where everybody here tonight was at the time of Sandy, and especially the council meeting right after it. I know most of you weren't on council, because I know the councilmen who gave great credit to what turned out to eventually be called the Visitation Relief Center on Mantoloking, where Visitation Church donated the building to use, and the people who came out, who were from ordinary walks of life, somebody who was in the food industry, came out and joined with others in the food industry, and some of us who wouldn't have been, I didn't happen to be one of them, to cook big, big, big meals and serve them at that center. Brought it out to one councilman, a bowl of soup that he said never in his life did he have something better than that. It was brought by a young person, teenager. And please, get rid of that timer. I have that in my post to Loretta, which I will be sending to her legislative aides. It also invites her to come see a meeting. The flood. Yeah, I saw about Ocean County. Do you know that what I found out in my research? That nothing should be done in this town without notifying the Ocean County Engineering Department of what you're doing and coordinating it between the town and the county. That also extends up the line to the state. But during that time, when there were several of us here complaining, I could use a different word, but I won't, about the lack of interest, support to the plight, particularly of the people in Evergreen Woods. Ignored it. Oh, that's not our job. We only take care of the town. We only take care of Ocean County. They didn't come down. No, they didn't. And they should have. Nothing should be done unless you're all there together and talking in front of us and have a public meeting at which we can talk to you. Maybe you don't want to call it a public meeting. Maybe you want to call it a town hall meeting. And we should be the center of it. What we ask needs to be answered, and it never has been. You better go to the books and find out what is on that, because you're not following what the state has long since directed is the job of the council. The mayor's responsible for the whole town, is what I read in that. But he disavows anything to do with the school. All of you disavow anything to actually do with the Municipal Utilities Authority. No, no, no. He's responsible, whomever he happens to be or she at the time, for everything that happens in this town. And it's a disgrace, and the reaction and response to the flooding in Greenbrier, where I do not live. That is officially named Greenbrier Homeowner Association Incorporated. It has no one in it, and I live in the one that is officially Greenbrier, Roman numeral 2, Homeowner Association Incorporated. And there was plenty of flooding there too, but less severe. And one last word about the flooding in Greenbrier. Do you think it's an accident that the most severe, where the 100 houses were all along Bursville Road, which is all along the Parkway, which is where the changes were made, and they were horrible changes. There is a National Highway Transportation publication that had an article, Roads That Are Unsafe by Design, and that's what happened with that.
Next? Yes.
Sam Foster, Antigua Drive. I have a point I want to make about consent agenda 12, the request of New Jersey Turnpike Authority to have an independent study. I wanted to ask the mayor or anybody else in town if they have anything, what specific problem you have, if any, with the findings of the county engineer. Is there anything about his finding that you find wasn't appropriate or was not done properly, that you would feel the need for an independent contractor to look and investigate the flooding, or is it just...
Just along the terms of, like, if a student took a test, usually the teacher grades it, the student doesn't grade it himself, and then say, yeah, I got an A+, teacher, look at this.
So you want to, like, a double checking of it?
Independent agency look at it, that I wasn't involved with the project, who is...
Okay,
it's very rare that somebody's going to say, yeah, you know what, we designed this all wrong, and we're in some trouble here.
Yeah.
So you want to have somebody independent look at it.
I'm just trying to understand about, to justify the expenditure, because from my experience as a county engineer going to freehold meetings and township or council meetings, I've never heard anybody complain about the work of the county engineer. And before we have taxpayer money spent on this issue, I would like to hope that we could have some kind of a, you know, an opinion or some kind of evidence produced that there's something wrong with the county engineer not doing their job properly before we spend taxpayer money on this issue. Because like I said, I've been to township or council meetings, Ocean County Freeholder meetings. Everybody speaks very highly of the county engineer. So if there's something there about his conduct or his work that he's doing that would justify this expenditure of taxpayer money, you know, I think we should be aware of it, because I just think it's just you know, counterproductive. We have a fine engineer, and it does a good job, and unless there's something in there that you know, applies to his lack of doing a good job. I think that we should just rein in the spending of taxpayer money on things that are redundant or unnecessary. That's all.
Can I say something to you? Just to let you know, engineers aren't always right.
Yeah,
They did the state streets over by
These are
me.
politicians, so, you know.
They did the state streets where I live.
Yeah.
All the roads cracked. That was engineering design. So anything could be possible.
Yeah, I understand that, but, you know, I just, like I said, I've been to Township for council meetings, Wilson County Freeholder meetings. I've never heard anybody speak poorly of any of our county engineers, going back to the days of Road and Light Body in the 1980s. They've always been noted as being very professional, very competent in their work, and I understand what you're saying about everybody can make mistakes. That's true, but, you know, I'm not trying to be not personal here or anything, but I have more faith in an engineer than I do in politicians. No offense to you, Mr. Fosman, but that's just the way it is. I mean, that's, you know, we have a perfectly fine engineering department, and I don't want to see it politicized just because someone does. Just if you don't like the findings of the county engineer, you want to bring in another one at taxpayer money, but unless you can say that there was something wrong with the findings of the engineer, I don't see the need for expending.
And I just want to let you know, when I was at Greenbrier 1 for the meeting, Dan Kelly came down from the governor's office. Does everybody remember Dan Kelly? He was up there speaking and everything. After the meeting, I went over to him and I said, you know, you guys should overlook the parkway there, the engineering on it, and you guys should be in charge and overlook that and make sure everything was done right, so we have somebody else looking at it. So I don't know, whatever happened with that, I don't know. I was telling you that's the way it should have went.
The Evergreen Woods?
Evergreen Woods.
Yeah, because I used to live in Evergreen Woods. I lived on Belinda Court. My backyard was.
I seen the ditch back there that happened.
My backyard was the Garden State Parkway exit ramp, so, you know, I never had any problem with flooding or anything like that there, so that's just my opinion. But like I said, I feel before we go and spend more taxpayer money on an issue, you know, involving having another study done, I mean, like I said, mean no offense to you or no insult to you, Mr. Councilman Fosman. I happen to admire you, and I like you, and I think you do a good job. But it's just that politicians in general seem to have this knee-jerk reaction to study and commissions, and you know, I just think it has to be reined in. You know, county engineer does a good job. He's never had any complaints about them. The office going back 20, 30 years.
Mr. Foster, this has never happened before. This is maybe
We've had flooding in town. I understand that. Yes.
The flooding never happened before. The construction that went on at the Parkway, that whole interchange, changed something. There's been a lot of equipment out there recently.
I know. I lived in Evergreen Woods. I know what you're saying.
If everything is fine, then why is there equipment out there, and what are they doing?
I don't know.
What the mayor's asking us to approve, have an independent engineer. No one associate's not going to come, and they're going to pay for it. The Turnpike Authority is going to pay for this, not coming out of the
Yeah, but, you know, the Turnpike Authority gets their money from taxpayer money. I mean, it's not as if we're not paying for it anyway. This is where do you think the Turnpike Authority gets their money from? They get it from taxpayers. That's my whole point.
They do.
But what I'm saying is I used to live in Evergreen Woods. My backyard was the Garden State Parkway exit ramp right there. And I just feel that before we spend taxpayer money on further studies, we should rein it in, and just, unless there's a problem with the study by the county engineer, I don't see the need for further expenditure of taxpayer money. That's all.
Okay, that's your
Not trying to argue. I understand. I used to live there, so I know the situation. I
Thank
used to
you,
live in
Mr.
Evergreen Woods.
Foster.
Okay, I'm just saying.
Sir.
Good evening, folks. My name is Angel Santos. I'm a resident of Greenbrier, 5 Bourne Court. For some reason or the other, we, the people of Greenbrier, are being misled.
Sir, does this have anything to do with what is on the consent agenda?
With the floods, yes.
On the consent agenda.
Well, the flood should be the agenda here,
We'll
because
have
we're the
public-
taxpayers.
But you're going to have public comment after
We have to
the
vote on the
consent agenda is done.
Fine, then I'll stand up later and...
Absolutely, sir. You'll be given your time. Someone, go ahead.
Good evening, Mayor Ducey, and good evening to the council. I'm Kevin Smith, and I'm from Greenbrier also, and was affected by the flood and lost everything. I have lived in Brick for 61 years since I was 7 years old. So unfortunately, this happened, and I've never seen anything like this in my entire life. I'd like to thank the mayor and the council for taking the time during this devastating time and working with, the dignitaries and the governor, and hopefully something good will come out of this.
Sir, I don't want to interrupt, but this specifically on the council agenda on one of these items? Do you have
Yes.
questions or comments on one of these
Yes.
items? Okay.
Okay. In regard, one of my things was if the permits were going to be waived. That has been answered this evening, and I'm glad to see, because so many people at this time are financially strapped, as you well know. The other thing, of course, is the Parkway, and that situation I'm really, really upset with, as well as other homeowners. Because 1, 2, 3, and that is, one, there are no drains behind our homes when it was restored and when it was done. All the water just runs down, okay? And also, okay, when they had an eminent domain, they took 2 feet off the property and removed all those trees which soaked up water. The other thing is that I would like to mention, and I'm glad to see, that there is going to be an independent firm. When things go wrong, you do need a second opinion, and you do need an outside source to look at things to assure your taxpayers in the township who have been paying for years why the reasons that this happened and why it was caused, and not just from rain.
Now,
The
sir-
last thing I just want to state, and that is in regard to Governor Murphy, and just ask Mayor Ducey if any replies have come back from Governor Murphy at this time, in regard to FEMA or any situations that will help us.
Talking to the governor's office, they're figuring out with meteorologists to try to lump a couple storms together. He made the request, that's why FEMA officials showed up. So we're just waiting for dollar amounts to come in from residents, reports to go, and then that formal request to come from him to make it a presidential state of emergency.
Okay, all right. Thank you for your time.
And I
Thank you.
didn't hear anything on the state permit fees, though. I wish I did. I wish I had better news to say yes.
Yeah, and
But
just that hopefully our building department, when this takes place and we rebuild, hopefully they'll be able to expedite the situation. Sometimes, as we all well know, things have sometimes they're not fast, they're in a slow process. That's to do with, many homes and what's going on in the township. But, of course, we're at a standstill and we can't live in our houses at this point. So we're staying with relatives or other people. But thank you for listening.
Thank you.
Okay?
And just so everybody is clear, the independent study is not concrete yet. We are requesting the New Jersey Turnpike Authority and the Ocean County Engineering Department to do that. So if you can call them, if you can do whatever, that would be great to help us advocate for you to make sure that this becomes a reality and we find out what was the actual cause of all of this water. Anybody else? Yes.
Commenting on number 12. Stephen Brill, Jenny Court. Is there a red line around the northern part of Brick Township? Disaster happened at Greenbrier. As far as I can tell, not one Ocean County freeholder visited them. This would have been a perfect photo op. Instead, freeholder Kelly defended his engineering department's involvement in the Garden State Parkway Interchange 91 project. The flooding was not a result of their failure, he stated. Freeholder Kelly ignored the fact and hoped you would not notice that the area was also impacted by the shoulder widening project. The two combined projects' effect upon the surrounding areas was not studied. Apparently, the Ocean County freeholders have written off this red-lined area. Instead of marshaling the county's resources to find the cause, they circle their wagons around the county complex. It is Ocean County freeholders' responsibility to be concerned with everything that affects the health and welfare of its residents. Pointing in a slightly different direction, has the Brick Township Engineering Department looked at the capped French's landfill site, the solar field, to find out whether this 50-acre site contributed to the flooding. I've calculated that 8 inches of rain the site shed would have added about 9 million gallons of water to the surrounding area. That amount of water added to the expanded paved Interchange 91 and piped-in water from the shoulder widening project must have had a negative effect on the capacity of the tributaries and river in the area. I propose that these projects be re-examined for the combined impact. Unfortunately, this may involve the State Department of Environmental Protection. Being linear thinkers, they may not be capable of objectivity, especially as it would involve their permitting process. Finally, I would like to know if your engineering department would like a copy of the flood hazard area permit plan and numerous other plans for the improvements to Interchange 91. And that's these plans. So contact me. Thank you.
Just point out two things. The EPA requested it, that we have the basin checked, and it was fully functioning, the EPA for the site, Sally Ike. And then, just to be fair, Sheriff Masternardi, who's from the county, came. Not a freeholder, I know that. I'm just letting you know somebody from the county was there, but just Sheriff. With John Ernst, the engineer.
Anybody else from public for the consent agenda? Seeing none, close public. Roll call, please.
Councilwoman Zapsik.
Yes.
Councilman Mamalo.
Abstain 4-5, yes to the rest.
Councilman Fosman.
Yes.
President Dion.
Abstain 4-4, and yes to the rest. Moving on to Bill Resolution Computer 2018.
Be it resolved by the Township Council of the Township of Brick that the following bills be paid and that the mayor and the clerk be and are hereby authorized to draw orders on the treasurer for the amounts of the same. Computer bill resolution in the amount of $11,411,858.92.
Open to council. Seeing none, close council. Motion and a second.
Motion.
Second.
Motion by Councilwoman Zapsik, second by Councilman Mumolo. Open to the public on the computer bill resolutions. Seeing none, close public. Roll call, please.
Councilwoman Zapsik.
Abstain on New Jersey press media, and yes to the rest.
Councilman Mamalo.
Abstain Meridian Occupational Health, yes to the rest.
Councilman Fosman.
Yes.
President Dion.
Abstain CME Associates, and yes to the rest. Moving on to Bill Resolution Manual 2018.
Be it resolved by the Township Council of the Township of Brick that the following bills be paid and that the mayor and the clerk be and are hereby authorized to draw orders on the treasurers for the amount of the same. Manual bill resolution in the amount of $1,806,426.03.
Open to council. Seeing none, close council. Motion and a second.
Motion.
Second.
Motion by Councilman Mumolo, second by Council Vice President Crete. Public, open to public on the bill resolution manual. Yes.
I'm going to have to presume, since I don't presume, that you are speaking to Mrs. Carl when you say that. If you don't know my name, I suggest you go and get your head examined at the hospital, but don't go during flooding time. Excuse me.
Excuse me.
You have no right to speak.
You're out of line.
You are out of line.
No, you are out of line.
I have the floor, and I have a right to criticize the people who are not representing me.
Not while I'm up here.
Go ahead and try. Find out. I have the floor, and you did not. And you think she and he have showed me respect? They don't even follow Robert's rules. Get a book. They don't follow Robert's rules of order, so there is no order in this place. There's only chaos. No. That's right. I'm the speaker at the moment. Many years ago, somebody was attending...
Please order in the audience. Thank you. Order in the audience, please.
That's what a gavel
Thank
is
you.
for. Many years ago, somebody who was attending, and I don't even remember man or woman, saw that it said manual bill and thought it meant that every meeting, a new book, a manual, like a user guide, is written. So you might want to make a statement about what is meant by manual bill, and in fact even clarify exactly what a computer bill is.
Anybody else on the manual bill resolutions? Thank you. Close public. Roll call.
Councilwoman Zapsik.
Yes.
Vice President Crate.
Yes.
Councilman Mamalo.
Yes.
Councilman Fosman.
Yes.
President Dion.
Abstain CME Associates, yes to the rest. We are now opening up to public comments.
Please note that each person addressing the council during any section of the meeting during which public comment is permitted shall limit his or her remarks to 5 minutes pursuant to Brick Township Administrative Code, Section 2-33B.
Sir, would you like to come up?
I got a couple of issues. Again, my name is Angel Santos. I live at 5 Vaughan Court in Greenbrier and was affected by the storm where we lost everything we owned throughout the years. We've had a lot of politicians and a lot of township officials.
Colleen, come up here. Sit up here.
I already did. Never a dull moment.
Unfortunately, some of us are heated up, but some of us ain't polite enough to hold on to our anger. So for that, I ask your apology.
Go ahead, sir.
Yes, my name is Angel Santos. I'm from 5 Vaughan Court in Greenbrier. And again, my maid and I, we lost everything we've owned and we've accomplished throughout the years. We bought the house 8 months ago and lost just about everything. One of the comments, we've had a lot of politicians, a lot of people come through our area making promises that they're not going to keep. The people of Greenbrier, we're a little upset because we feel that the hot potato is being passed around from one hand to the other without giving us solid answers or solid direction of where the township is going to be heading for our help. One of the things that I propose is, because we're taxpayers, and right now there's 110 houses in Greenbrier that are affected. For some reason or the other, I feel that maybe the township of Bricktown should waive our taxes for a quarter so that we could use that money to rebuild, besides us not having to pay the code enforcement fees. We should be able to get something back. I understand that the township doesn't have the money to help us rebuild, but we've been denied from FEMA to the Red Cross to our insurances to everybody in the town. I give a lot of credit to the police department, to the fire department, and to a lot of the volunteers that came to help us. God bless them, because we needed their help. But now more than ever, we need more help, and the help we need is not words, hot air, or a potato floating around. We need money. We need money to start all over again so that we could continue to be residents of Bricktown. Right now in the cul-de-sac that I live, 3 of our neighbors abandoned their homes because they're elderly and don't have the money to rebuild. We're on a fixed income. I'm a 100% disabled American veteran, so I'm on a fixed income. For me to start all over again is a very hazardous thing. You know, it adds to my PTSD, it adds to my emotional state of mind, and seeing my neighborhood where we sit down in the front of the house every night, and it's like an abandoned village. It's like being in a war zone. While our freeholders are passing the blame, again with the hot potato, we need help. So I'm proposing 2 things. That the township consider giving us a waiver on our taxes for at least a quarter so that we could rebuild. And I also propose that all the members of Brick Township, because we all know that this problem was caused by the Parkway Authority closing those drains and expanding the parkway, we should take it upon ourselves to quit paying the toll fees every time we use our roads, because our taxes already paid for them, and we're being double taxed by paying for these roads every time we take a ride. You know, we need our mayor and our council members to take a more active role in our community to help us financially. We're asking for that help. We don't need an independent engineer, because we know what's going to happen. The Parkway Authority is going to find a cousin of a cousin of a cousin that is not associated with them, and at the end, they're going to win and we're going to lose. We ain't got time to lose. We got time to rebuild in this nice, beautiful town that we live in. A town full of people that love each other and care for each other. And that's what we should do. We should take it upon ourselves to help each other. You just talked about a resolution for computers of what? $1 million? Take some of that money and give it to us. We need that money. We need to rebuild. We need to start again. Some of us are afraid. Some of us don't know where to start, because the people that we ask for help are denying us the help. We ain't got time to sit for a year, 6 months, or 7, or 10 years to start all over again. We need the help, and we need it now, folks. So please, do what you can and give us some money so that we could start all over again. Thank you.
Yep, that's right. I would
Mayor?
fighting definitely for FEMA aid. FEMA is the entity, hopefully, that'll come through. It'll be tens of thousands of dollars. But with regards to property taxes, I was going to talk about this in my closing comments, but I'll mention it here since it was brought up. So the tax assessor's office, they're proactive on this storm because of our unfortunate experience with Sandy. There is a property damage inspection request form. It has to be completed prior, there's laws that we have to follow. So it has to be completed prior to December 31st, 2018. We can schedule appointments with the property owners once the conditions within their homes have stabilized somewhat, meaning, you know, you're not there working every single day, ripping stuff out. Once the stuff is ripped out, whatever it is, they can come out there and do their inspections. The inspections don't go into effect until January 1st, 2019, but they're going to start these inspections in October. So everybody should have gotten these in the mail. If you didn't, they are also going to be going, they're going to be going door to door. There's a cover letter that explains this process. It's also posted on our website. Basically, if the if the homeowner's mail is returned or goes missing during forwarding, which was problems during Sandy, and that's why we have it on our website and everywhere. The important facts are homeowners whose homes are not quickly repaired should contact the tax assessor's office to make an inspection prior to December 31st, 2018. The inspections will all happen October, November, and December, and will impact your 2019 property assessments. That's all that's allowed under the law. The inspections conducted by the tax assessor's office are in addition to any inspections conducted by the building or engineering departments. So it's separate. You have to call the tax assessors separately. And the forms are available on our website, and I have 6 copies of it here if anybody wants to take it with them. But that's what they're able to do. The property is the property, but the dwelling is what you can't live in, and that's what gets adjusted by the tax assessor. So that's all important information. I was going to say it at the end, but this is a perfect spot since you talked about what's allowed legally with property taxes. Thanks.
Thank you, Mayor.
No problem.
Good evening, everybody. I live in Greenbrier at 125 Clay Circle. I had a flood 3 weeks before the 13th. There was a torrential rain in the afternoon. I live at an intersection, and the intersection got flooded about 3 foot. It came up so I've had to deal with water coming up to my house twice. Unfortunately, I'm not like the people on Markham, but I guess I want it duly noted that I've been there for 14 years. There have been torrential rains over the course of 14 years, and I lived through Sandy. I have never had water come up to 1.5 inches of my house. It wrecked my air conditioning unit, but I had a flood 3 weeks before in July. A car went through it, got stuck in 3 foot of water. The police were called. It's all duly noted. But something's changed, and I guess I want you all to know that for whatever feasibility study is done by whoever. I don't live anywhere near water. I'm in the middle of the community. And the car got stuck for 40 minutes in 3 foot of water in July, and they had to wait for the water to recede. And then, of course, the 13th happened. So I guess I just want it noted that something's very different. And I had to go get flood insurance today because I'm not going to wait for the 3rd time for it to come through my door because I don't know. And my air conditioning went. But I'm grateful because other people have lots of things to deal with. But I guess I just want that noted. I'm in the middle of the community. I'm not near Burrsville Road, and I'm not near the Parkway.
What was the Clay Avenue you said?
Pardon me?
What was your road you live on?
I live on the corner of Constable and Clay. I am 1 block down from the back end of the clubhouse.
Okay.
Okay.
During the storm, the water ran between, or during the rain, between my neighbor and myself like a river coming down.
I believe it.
And my grandchildren were there, and my granddaughter couldn't get to the end of my driveway because it's about 4 foot. But I do have to commend the Township of Brick, the police, the EMTs, and everybody. There was a command center there, and you all really know what you're doing. So I'm grateful for that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for letting us know, too.
Kevin Smith, 59 Markham Road. One of the things I wanted to address, and that is in regard to the pump house with the MUA. If you have any information in regard to, they've been working for 3 weeks now after the flood on the pump house. I don't know what they've established or what they have done at this point, but of course it was devastating. My house had 4 feet of water. And then when I came in my driveway, I had water up to my waist. I stood in my driveway and actually watched the sewer caps pop off up in the air, and then all the water come out of the sewers like geysers. All our homes on that street were totally contaminated. So it was really devastating, and we don't know what's going to happen to us in the future with our health. But I would like to know, I know that the MUA is an independent of the township, and I would like to know why they can't come back to the township and become part of it and not run as an independent firm. Anybody who would like to answer?
Sure, we'd have to acquire it, which is legally allowed. But the one problem is with that is their infrastructure is so old that if the town were to take it over, we're responsible for that infrastructure, and the taxes would skyrocket because we'd have to replace that infrastructure, and it's through that mechanism in addition to the water bill. So, we looked into it, I don't know, 4 years ago, I guess, about taking it over, and it was just doesn't make financial sense because it would cost us so much money.
Okay. It always comes down to money.
Yeah.
Do you know at this particular time what's been established with the pump house yourself?
They said it was so it flooded because of the water, and then they went over there and they had it up and running with generators during the storm.
Yeah,
still.
The pump house had stopped working, is what happened.
Yeah, for a period of time, and then they went
Correct.
over with the generators and worked it. But it is like you said, sewage.
Okay. Yeah.
It's not like the rain. So over on the Barrier Island and Maniloking and Bayhead, they have those pump stations. But those over there are for moving the surface water. So the water that's on the streets, it pumps it back into the bay. This isn't that. This wouldn't have pumped water that comes from above.
Right.
It's for sewage to pump through the system. Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
Yeah, and the reason why I'm asking
And
is
our building inspectors went through everybody's houses, and there was no call. He said there was no need to call the Department of Health on any of them because there was no sewage.
Okay. Well, I'm going to debate the fact and say that in my house...
And you should call the Department of Health.
Okay, I will.
Yeah,
I will.
definitely.
And I had the Governor Murphy came in my home,
Mhm.
and I took Governor Murphy in my bathroom, and I had sewage in my tub up to the top.
Oh, wow.
And my tub is beige,
Did you
and
show-
now was dark brown.
The
My
building
sink was
inspector?
dark brown. The toilets were all filled the same. So it was sewage. And also, just to put notation on it, the house reeked. It reeked. You could smell it. It was so bad. And, you know the scent. So it's not mistaken for it. So, I'll do what you said. I will, make a notation and call Department of Health and, let them know, because this is something very serious. Independently, I was told by somebody that I should go for a certain type of hepatitis shot, okay, because there were contaminants, okay, that were in the water.
Yeah, call them for sure.
Yes,
Department of Health.
and we don't know what can happen to her.
What was the address again? Sorry.
59 Markham Road.
Thanks.
Okay, but just to move on, the parkway itself, we don't want to be redundant on this, but we feel the parkway, of course, is the big issue and caused a lot of this to happen in factor with 8 inches of rain. I know myself, okay, behind my home on Burrsville as you ride it, it curves Burrsville since it was done. So you can tell when it's raining, all the water just runs down. Now, this, I can't believe, okay, that an engineering department would do something like this to remedy the situation of water. They actually dug a long gully in next to the road going all the way down that would take care of the runoff water. That is totally insane. That is totally impossible. And that is because the drains that did exist at one time there were taken out. So therefore, any water, which then went onto the parkway and flooded that, cars couldn't go north, as well as Burrsville, okay? We had no choice. It rose. It came in through the buffer zone. I really was in shock when I looked out my back window. I could not believe the level of the water. And, you know, Councilman Momola, I appreciate the fact that you notated that the Parkway has been out there for a number of weeks working diligently on whatever they're doing. So all of these factors, I think, you know, played an important role into what happened to everyone within the township, and hopefully we can get back on our feet again. But I would like to end it with thanking our both high schools. Amazing, you know, my son graduated way back from Brick Memorial, and I think the high school students were just fantastic. They came, 4 of them came to my home and moved out every appliance. These kids were great. You know, at the end, I just felt so glad to have them. You know, I reached in my pocket and took out $50 to give to them, and they said, "Oh, Mr. Smith, no, you can't do that." I said, "Yes, I can." You know, I said, "I appreciate that you're doing this, okay?" Eventually, I got them to take it, and I told them to go have pizza and soda. Enjoy. And the other thing is a lot of credit. We have a very excellent community in Greenbrier 1. And anytime a tragedy arises, the people in Greenbrier 1 stand up, and they help, and they come to your aid. And for anyone who's watching tonight, I just wanted to go out to them, as well as all the religious organizations that came into Greenbrier and offered their services and food, and just, it was amazing. You know, like St. Paul's Methodist Church, the Rubicon Recovery Team, which they were remarkable. So just a big thank you. I don't want to take up all the time, but a big thank you. You know, when you're in a tragedy, okay, sometimes a lot of people get forgotten along the way. And we need to make note of these people because they really helped us in a bad way and when we were in dire need of help. So thanks again.
Thank you. Like the mayor said before, we will be recognizing those people that have helped throughout all of this. There's too many people, and we don't want to leave anybody off, so we need another week to get everybody who helped out. If you know people and you want to email us and let us know so we don't leave anybody off, that would be a huge help, because I'm terrified of leaving off somebody and not thanking them, because it was such a huge effort by our community. So, next. Sir.
Good evening. I'm going to read my letter to Mayor Ducey, Council President DeJong, and the councilmen and councilwomen that are here, and the ones that were here before you people. I've been saying this for 6 years, as you know, week after week, month after month. Here's my letter. The problem of the environmental destruction. This is outside of the floods. We had the floods in Evergreen Woods that cars could not get out of the back as well, so it wasn't just one side of the parkway, it was the other side of the parkway. The problem with the environmental destruction that these people don't understand caused lung and heart ailments among many of our residents, and it continues to plague Brick residents and all of Ocean County residents. Each and every one of our citizens faces the toxins forced upon them by the New Jersey Turnpike Commissioners and their powerful profiteering allies. The people that live in and around the destruction of the parkway know full well the health and environmental problems befalling Brick residents. The Turnpike Authority continues to ignore the pleas of the people for fair and just settlement in the matter concerning the health of their well-being in this area. More and more proof of the impact of the Garden State Parkway widening and exiting projects become more and more visible each day. When will the Turnpike step up? The answer is never if our local political class does not put more pressure on the Turnpike and the governor to do something. Houses in Greenbrier were flooded by a storm and run off of the Garden State Parkway. A 30-foot sinkhole was created in part to the destruction of trees near mile marker 92 on the southbound side of the parkway. And if you recall, that's where they made the mistake of digging up the trees and the roots and everything else, and then had put berms in its place, almost identical to where this giant sinkhole is. More and more people are showing their displeasure, and not just from Brick Township, but other shore communities as well as their visitors. Many people are noticeably impacted by this man-made, greed-driven destruction of the once scenic Garden State Parkway. Council members and the mayor are always facing pressing issues, and this issue impacts all of us 75,000 residents, and may impact 100,000 others who border the Garden State Parkway. School starts in a few days, and the toxins will flow over Brick High School and Lanes Mill School for sure, as well as other areas. The area I talked about not being able to get getting in over Evergreen Woods is a major bus stop for about 25 kids. What is needed in Evergreen Woods, Greenbrier, Brick High, and other areas in Brick Township is a combination of additional shrubbery and afforestation that was torn up by the Turnpike Commissioners, as well as a 14-foot pollution, noise, and safety wall to curtail some of the damage brought about by this illegal action of the Commissioners of the Turnpike. It seems that a large, overbearing bureaucracy such as the New Jersey Turnpike Authority will not listen to the needs of the people and local government officials, especially if those officials are getting advice from unions, construction companies, and well-endowed bureaucrats. In order to save the health and well-being of many of our residents, there is a chance that the Turnpike Authority may listen to the governor, but he must be pushed by our local officials. If the council can't act or even show concern for the citizens will have to fight on and maybe someday save the lives of other Brick residents. Although the mayor and his administration may have visited the sinkhole site, which is now only 10 feet away from the backyards of Howell Township, where they also were flooded, which is directly across from where the Garden State Parkway destroyed those trees. And now this sinkhole is about 30 feet away from the fence of the Garden State Parkway where that berm is. So just so people know. And very little seems to be done as this destruction continues, and the sinkhole is getting wider. The time for action is now. We need to work and get this done. And as far as the county and state officials that have authorized the parkway destruction will undoubtedly say they have nothing to do with it. They've said they have nothing to do with anything since they started doing it and will not spend the money to help the residents. It has to be done locally, and it has to be done by you people in order to be able to protect not Greenbrier, not just Evergreen Woods, but every area. The kids in Brick High School are getting toxins put on them every day. Those cheerleaders and twirlers were out there the last few days. Guess what they're sitting under? A cloud of toxins off the parkway. Thanks for your time. I yield back 10 seconds.
Yes.
I have several things. I think you all know I'm Nan Carl. I live at 18 Greenbrier Boulevard. By the way, for the attention of Kevin Smith, perhaps you have not seen or will never see until I forward it, this article that appeared in a publication that many of you would never have the opportunity to read, but it came in my mailbox. It was there today when I went out early in the afternoon, and Kevin, you mentioned in it. So were several other Greenbrier 1 on their own. And it talks about many organizations that stepped up. Not one was the Township. However, Visitation Church, there is a How to Help at the end, mentions Catholic Charities, Diocese of Trenton, Seeds of Service, which evidently is the new name for the Visitation Relief Center on Mantoloking Road, Vincent's Legacy, not entirely sure of it. I think it's the St. Vincent de Paul Society, a few others, and how they stepped up, and that's who stepped up for Sandy. The people that came, prepared big meals, served them for, I don't remember, it had to be well over 2 months, I think. Every day, these people came, and they were top-quality chefs. They were people in that industry. They stepped up for Sandy. They stepped up now. And the township, nil. I will forward this as a share tomorrow, because I will not do it tonight. I'm not in any shape to do it. And the publication, it's the August 23rd, 2018 publication of The Monitor. That. I suggest also to the people of Greenbrier, one, and since I'm not being adhered to by them, I'll face the cameras who only see the back of my head. Since I'm talking to the people here and out there, I suggest that when you make your reports, you have the township engineer check your property as far as the grading and drainage, because going back to 2005, the engineer confirmed that my property has been completely compromised on grading and drainage, and oh, they've changed the rules in the book here since then, and I haven't done anything, because immediately following that, my husband got seriously ill. But that's my glass half full. My glass half empty. My glass half full was, it came 2 weeks after the birth of our first grandchild, and 16 months later, the birth of our second grandchild, and he started 8 weeks of his third treatment. And anyone who doesn't like what I have to say, it's my time. Many of you from Greenbrier 1 are in here. How about, and this is for the mayor to put out in a press release or on the website, actually both. What about the flooding at the medical center? Whatever you want to call it, Hackensack, Meridian, I still call it Brick Hospital. That happened in both the storms that the woman from Clay Circle talked about. There was, I don't know how many inches on the first floor. What happened to the emergencies that came in? What about today in the heat? You think maybe some people might have lost electricity? You think maybe they've lost it since the flooding did something to their generators? What about those people that are using generators? You know what happens when things get overloaded on the circuits? I suggest that we do away with the planning department, because that is one of the things that for many years is at the root cause of some of this. Instead of a planning department to come out and see every little thing that a licensed electrician, plumber does. If you keep 2 lists, keep a list of good contractors and a list of bad contractors, and when we need work, we shouldn't have to go get permission from the township. There should be a list of contractors we can trust, and when we get a bad one, notify. You don't need to be checking up everything somebody who paid a lot of money for an education, even if it wasn't, quote, a college education. Vocational schools do excellent jobs in those fields, I know, and have it that way that we can get some work. And as far as who's to blame, this is like having blood poisoning in your system. Every artery, every capillary, every single organ gets affected. Likewise, the homeowner associations, the township, the county, the state, and national. Don't get an independent engineer. Get national highway safety, traffic, and a few other national governmental agencies to get out here and everybody dialogue.
Good evening. Bruce Rowley, 8 Whitman Street in Brick. I want to thank the town, first of all. They did a great job. Unlike the young lady that spoke before, I witnessed fire department in there, I was the police in there. Actually, the maintenance or the town public work was in there picking
Public
up
Works.
refrigerators, taking stuff out. They did a great job. I live by the lake in Greenbrier, the back. Fortunately, I only got a little bit of water in my garage, but my house was surrounded with water. And what happened during the flood is the end of the lake down at the gate, I guess, the gate that opens and closes, that collapsed. I just want to know what's the situation with that and how is that going to affect future flooding?
Yeah, so unfortunately that happened, but that means we can fix it under an emergency and emergency appropriations to fix that, so we don't have to go out to bid and all that stuff and get it repaired quickly. But the gate is actually still there. It was just the water was so deep he couldn't see it, so he thought it was gone.
Okay.
Then when the water receded, the gate. I mean, if you walk out there now, the gate's still. Don't walk on that sidewalk and
No,
road.
I
People are walking their dogs across that sidewalk, and I'm like, oh my God,
No,
there's nothing underneath.
Don't drive your car over there either, no.
Yeah, exactly. But you'll see, like that thing is still there. It was just the water was so deep, it was
Is
over,
that
so it was gone.
raised or lowered to take care of the water
Yes.
drainage? Who does that? Who does that?
The
Greenbrier?
engineering department.
Yeah, engineering does that? So in other words, if there's a big rainfall, they would open it up more to let more water out? Or what's it?
She did because of all the water that was in there, but otherwise, it's not. I think it's. Is it owned by Greenbrier? Yeah. So it's
Yeah.
owned by the association, so it's not.
And as far as the flooding, we was this close to coming in the house in Whitman. It didn't really come from the lake. It came down Emerson, where that creek is, and then down Whitman, like a little river coming right down.
Mhm.
I'm just worried that, this hasn't happened in Greenbrier. My in-laws lived in the same house that we lived in for 20 years prior to us, and we've been there 7 or 8 years already, and it's kind of scary that something has definitely changed. So even though with the 8 minutes, something definitely got to be changed, and we should be doing that study. That's very important.
Yep.
Just for, if something is wrong and needs to be fixed. Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Melanie Briggs. There's only a few very simple issues I want to address. One was the mention of the 5-minute clock. It was proposed by 2 very intelligent people. And the reason it was proposed was because people would get up here and speak for 8 minutes, 11 minutes, 17 minutes. By that point, who cared what they had to say? Just shut up and sit down. Only people that want to talk forever have something against the clock. I understand the township employees went over to Greenbrier after work to help remove things that were put out by people. I watch the meetings from home, simply so that I don't get up here and say anything. But tonight just brought it to a head. Things have to be clamped down. There is a rule that if somebody acts out inappropriately, uses inappropriate language, or against the council, they can be barred from meetings. And at this point, I could give you a list right now of at least 2 people that should be on that list. There is no reason for you, as president, when you recognize somebody, to ever use their name. And if somebody gets offended, well, you know what? This isn't get me the superstar award, so everybody should know my name. I want to see these meetings come back to civil, informative, and calm meetings, not what's going on now. I think Ms. Bergen has been injured enough today and didn't need any more. So please, use the rule.
Thank you. Anybody else? Yeah.
I was going to talk about something else tonight, but I'm going to leave that off of the table.
That's
But I'm
right.
glad Pardon?
S-Regs?
That's more. I'm glad that Melanie came up here and said that. I think that clock should be tied to this mic. The mic goes off 5 minutes. And people come in here and they say about how disrespectful everyone else is. And they don't seem to realize they need to go home and look in the mirror. It's disrespectful to stay up here after 5 minutes when everybody else is waiting to get up here and say what they want to say. So I second what Melanie said. Thank you for everything you did. I know you were all out there, although nobody's going to give you any credit. I know that you were out there. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Seeing none, close public. Mrs. Bergen.
I have nothing, thank you.
Mayor.
Hi, just have a couple of things.
Of course.
I don't want anybody that's in the audience or watching at home. I spoke about the flood at the beginning of the meeting, so if you didn't see the beginning, you can rewind it if you're watching it at home or watch it online, of course. But it's a horrible thing. We're going to have, in a few meetings from now, we're going to honor the people who came out. I know they weren't doing it to get credit, as the last gentleman said, all the volunteers who came out. They weren't doing it for credit, but we're going to acknowledge them. But some other things going on. The Brick Housing and Housing Association, they have opened up their applications for the waiting list, and the waiting list there isn't very long, so if you're interested, it's open through October 31st, 2018. You have to be 62 years of age or older, or disabled, one or the other, you don't have to be both. You must meet the HUD-approved income limits, though. So if you're one person, it's $50,350 maximum income, which is for one person, and two people, $57,550 is the maximum income. The application is only available online. I'm not sure why, but you can go to their website. It's www.brickha.org. And if you need help with that or you don't have online access for whatever reason, I'm going to tell you, go to the Brick Housing Authority and apply there in person. They don't tell me to say that, but not everybody has the internet. Not everybody knows how to work the internet, even if they go to the library where it's available. So go there in person and say the mayor sent you. Municipal offices will be closed on Monday, May 3rd, in observance for Labor Day. School is starting.
May 3rd?
September. Jeez. Wow. Yeah.
You want to
sorry.
relive your summer?
I'm actually reading this. You believe it? And it doesn't say May, so. So, September 3rd, Labor Day. Happy Labor Day. We're closed for the day. School is starting, depending on which school. Some schools start Tuesday, September 4th. Others, the public schools start on Wednesday, September 5th. So everybody drive careful out there. You're going to see kids at their new bus stops. In the first couple of days, everybody's going to be running late and probably panicking trying to get to the bus stops and everything else. So just be careful of all the kids. And very important thing, September 11th is our September 11th Remembrance Service. It takes place at the Angel in Anguish Monument at Windward Beach, and it's on September 11th. We always have it on the actual day. It will be at 6 o'clock p.m., and if you've never been there, you should be there. And if you have a child that wasn't born yet when September 11th happened, you should bring him or her, no matter the age. It's appropriate. It's a beautiful ceremony. The families come back of the residents who perished on that day. The families still come back. There's clergy from all over town that come, and they each do little prayers or speeches. It's attended by VFW, American Legion, our fire departments, police representatives, and just really well done. Our Parks and Recreation Department do a great job with it. And then it ends with this special candlelight service. The fire department has their big flag up on the truck and everything, so it's not time to forget yet. So September 11th, 6 o'clock p.m. at Windward Beach. Thanks.
Mr. Keneally? Ms. Larney?
Nothing, thank you.
Ms. Hartman? Nothing. Vice President Creed?
Sorry.
Sorry.
I just wanted to thank everyone that came out from Greenbrier this evening to tell us, what you've been going through, and thank all the people who volunteered to go out and help you. We appreciate hearing the stories and having a better understanding of what's going on. So thank you for that. And thank you also for
allowing me to come late. Sorry, I was at back to school night, locker night for 6th grade at Veterans Memorial. It was really nice to meet my daughter's teacher. She's just entering middle school, and I did want to get out here for as much of the meeting as possible, so thanks for letting me come late. And enjoy your Labor Days on September 3rd, and we'll see you at the next meeting. Thank you.
Councilwoman Zapsik?
Thank you, Council President. I have a few announcements, and I kind of debated skipping them this evening in light of everything we heard tonight. I do want to acknowledge everyone from Greenbrier 1 who came out and told us what you're experiencing, what you saw during that storm. I mean, we've seen the photos and whatnot, but your firsthand eyewitness experience, especially about the flooding 3 weeks before, because all of that is very, very valuable information that will need to move forward. And thank you all to everyone who took the time to come to the microphone and, you know, and offer your thanks on behalf of our staff and our first responders. So thank you very much. You will not be forgotten. I did promise the Garden Club that I would make an announcement. Their next meeting is on Monday, September 10th, 7 p.m. at the Bob Ansett Cultural Arts Center. Those meetings are open to the public and all are welcome. And then on Sunday, I had the opportunity to attend services at Brick Presbyterian Church. Their pastor, Reverend Doug Chase, has been with them for 27 years, and he is retiring. So he preached his final sermon on Sunday morning, and there was a big celebration for his retirement. I've had the opportunity over the last year and a half to get to know Pastor Chase fairly well. The mayor appointed him to the BMAC committee as the faith-based representative. And I just want to comment, and have said this to him, but I wanted to say it publicly, that over the years of my association with BMAC, which is almost 20 off and on, we've had members of the faith-based community come and go, and with no disrespect intended toward any of them, there hasn't ever really been anyone quite as active as Pastor Chase in terms of his contributions to the committee, volunteering his time, and just also just very thoughtful remarks that he makes at the meeting and encouraging of BMAC. And I did extract a promise from him that when his term is up, he would be interested in being reappointed. So he's not going away from us, which is good. But I did just want to take a moment to acknowledge him publicly, thank him for his service, not only to the congregation at Brook Presbyterian, but to the community at large. I heard stories on Sunday about the addition they put on their building and how they opened it after Sandy to serve meals. So they are very active in the Brick Township community. And again, I want to thank Pastor Chase for his service, and I would just say, well done, good and faithful servant. And I'm glad to say that I'm glad that I won't be saying I'll miss him, because he's still going to be around. So thank you very much. That's all I have this evening.
Thank you. Councilman Mumolo.
First off, I'd like to start with the Princeton Avenue update. They've been replacing manholes, and I know it's been a little hectic for everybody driving on there. And they had a couple of incidences where markouts were wrong from the county, so they had today road was closed because of a gas line, but they should be done and wrapped up by the end of the week. The bridge is another story. I don't see anybody working on that. I saw one guy out there today, but that's a whole different thing. And again, that's county, so we have nothing to do with that. Thank everyone from Greenbrier for coming out. Glad the council passed this to waive the fees for the town for inspection. That doesn't mean you don't get inspections. You still need to get your inspection, because that protects you from the contractor doing the wrong thing. So it's important that that's done. And it happens all the time, that something's left out, a grant, whatever it may be. That's what they're trained to do. So it's important that you have them come out, inspect it. You can get your permit, come down, get your permit, have the guy do his work, and then get the inspection. So don't hold up. Get the sheetrock insulation, get started. Once it's dried, insulation get done. Get your sheetrock up, so things can start moving along for you. Hopefully you get some assistance, and hopefully what the mayor is working on stuff with FEMA, and hopefully it takes time, though. That's the sad part. And everybody wants to get back in their house. Nobody wants to be out of their house. And so it's very sad. I feel for you. Unfortunately, the town was very prepared for this because of Sandy. Sandy was just a giant scale of what you people went through with 1,000 homes that were affected by that. So, but the resources were there. They came out. I was there. I was watching them, and taking people out in the boats. They did a great job, and they really did. We'll recognize them, like they said. And with that, thank you all for coming out. Have a good night. Thank you.
Councilman Fozzie.
Thank you. All right, waiving the building fees, I think that's great. We did that with Sandy, and we extended it in Sandy, too. So I have no problem extending that if people need so we can get everybody back in, because it takes a lot of time to get back in, unfortunately. And as for Dan Kelly, he was sent down from the governor's office. Like I said, I spoke to him about having them oversee the turnpike and the county, so we can get a true reading, so nobody inspecting themselves. That's what we don't want. I prefer that they do it, and I will be addressing Dan Kelly with an email about that. Also, there were a lot of places that were affected, not just Greenbrier, but Sutton Village. There was 12 homes flooded there, and everybody remembers at the meeting that Sue Delasanti, she spoke up and said she didn't even get a bottle of water and everything over there. And I did meet with her in the hallway with Pat Donahue. She was from People's Pantry. They have food and everything. And so we were talking. So that day I went over there and got water for them, got food for them, delivered it to Sutton Village, and spoke to the people there. And they were telling me a lot of things that happened in their area. And one thing was, one of our township trucks went down there plowing in the water. The wake pushed in the garage doors. So I told them to give me all their information. I passed it on to the township, and they can report that anybody has damage like that from any vehicle going down there and doing that, and you have pictures of it, you can call the township at 732-262-1234 and report this, because that shouldn't have happened if anybody did that. And I'd like to thank Pat Donahue from People's Pantry and Susan Martitzak. She's the executive director of Compass 82. She also came down there. And after that day, we had another meeting at this past Friday there. And there was everybody there that was flooded. We went through everything and got their applications for the Compass 82, and everybody was telling their stories and seeing how everything was going. And it was very informative, and that's when everybody was emailing me all their pictures and everything like that, and I was trying to get it together for them. They're making a list for me, just like you guys did, a list of everything and pictures and everything together. I'll bring it to the township. New York Avenue residents were also flooded there, and they had that, and had some truck go down the road again, and it knocked in their garage doors. 2 houses were knocked off the foundations a little bit, not just from the wake, but just from the flooding too. So back in that area, I asked the township if they would send an engineer back there in the Green Acres Woods, because back there's piping and everything too. Take a look at it. Let's see what happened back there. Was it clear, the pipes and everything? The neighbors all went back there and took pictures and everything and sent it to me. I'm waiting to see what happens with the township engineer. I didn't hear anything yet from them. So I know they're probably really busy. And another thing I want to bring up, besides the flood, the town has helped paying for some costs for like a dredging. It's not paying for the dredging, but it's paying for some other costs for the dredging. We're using our engineer and various things. So some money's coming out of our pockets, town taxpayer pockets for that. And now Evergreen Woods, as far as I can remember, they always needed a sound study. That sound study will determine if they need that wall. In a sound study, East Brunswick, I researched, East Brunswick did before they got their wall up in East Brunswick, they did a sound study, and the township paid for it. It was $10,000. And if we do that and get that sound study, what would happen is that would end the whole thing here. That would either need the wall or they don't need the wall. But that sound study needs to be done by independent. They put the equipment there, they monitor it, and they see what it is. We, as the council, as we can do things for other people in town, I think we should do it for these people, and this will either they're going to get a wall or they're not going to get a wall, because this sound study will determine that. And I think it's very important that they get their say, because everybody else does in town. I'm glad that it's possible that we get a tax waive for 2019 for the people at the flood. I think that's important. So I know some people wanted it to happen right away, but I'm glad that the mayor brought that up, and it's very important to get that in there, or give everybody a little relief, I believe. And I got another announcement tonight over here. I'd just like to say my values and principles have always been in line with the residents of Brick, and I have always held true to the ethical obligations I have been sworn to. The lack of transparency and silencing of any dissent, concerns, and discussions in public is alarming, and was one of the reasons I ran for public office. Today, unfortunately, very rarely are committee meetings held, and the shenanigans and the makeup of rules as we go along is not the way government should be run. In past years, when I was the chair of Business and Finance, I held meetings prior to each council meeting. The minutes of those meetings were made available to all my council colleagues, and so they could be financially, physically informed. The mayor and council Democratic political advisor told me that I am no longer invited to the political caucus meetings that are held on Monday nights because they feel I no longer share the political philosophies that they have. So for the past 2.5 years, it has become increasingly evident that my colleagues move forward to the left, further to the left, and align their philosophies with those of the Hillary Clinton Democrats. I represent the residents of Brick, not the political views of the mayor, council, or political advisors. My views and principles are shared with the people of Brick and have always been fiscally and socially conservative and more in line with the Republican Party. My goal and promise to the residents of Brick has always been about my representing them in the best of my ability, and become obvious that the mayor and council are distancing me because I was increasingly at odds with their lack of transparency and calling them out on lack of checks and balances. That blatant lack of transparency is a slap in the face to the Brick residents. As long as one party rules with absolute power, the people of Brick will always suffer the consequences. The Democratic Party is clear that there is no room for a conservative Democrat, and I refuse to be a part of the progressive liberal agenda they embrace, which is so contrary to what the residents of Brick deserve. Unlike others, I will walk around blindly and following orders. I will not walk around blindly and follow orders all while not knowing what they do and not caring. There is a trend here in Brick, and the Democratic Party letting the people down. As a result of the letdown, I am announcing my upcoming switch to the Republican Party. To quote the late President Ronald Reagan, I didn't leave the Democratic Party. The Democratic Party left me. Thank you.
I'm glad this turned into a political meeting. Now I would like to thank you, Greenbrier, for coming. We really appreciate it. I always make a buy and Brick announcement of new businesses that join it. This week, it's Neil Slattery Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling that are offering a 2.5% rebate on all work that they do. So when you're rebuilding, you might want to look at the buy and Brick list, and you get a rebate off on your taxes. It's the third quarter, so just say if you need a buy and Brick card, call Darren in administration. He'll get you one. He'll get you signed up, no problem, and it'll be another little cushion that could help you along with the hopefully the disaster relief that we can get you. So I wanted to announce that. And I would like to thank the mayor for his leadership during all of this. I know everybody comes up here, thanks the township. The mayor's done a great job. Mrs. Bergen, she's been a rock star, along with our township engineer, our code and building officials that were out there, making sure you know, if you needed to have your box pulled, and JCP&L and everybody, our police, EMS, fire, all of our township employees, they are phenomenal. And we, as council, we wouldn't look good if they didn't do their jobs and go beyond the scope of their duties. So really a heartfelt thank you for all of our township employees. Again, we'll bring up all the other volunteers, but I just wanted to really thank our employees. It's unfortunate, like Councilman Mumolo said, that we have been through this before, and we know the deal, and we know the steps. We know waive the permit fees. We know the property tax, reassessment, and all that kind of stuff. So that's all I really wanted to say. I just wanted to thank our township employees. And also, Mayor said Labor Day is coming up, also the first day of school. I want to wish all of our students good luck, do well, make us Brick proud, and that is all I have for this evening. Our next meeting is on September 12th at 7 p.m. Can I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
All in favor?
Aye.